Alright, hello and welcome back. Now today you will see some very interesting builds. I think today's selection will be a lot better than the selection that I made last week. Now as usual, make sure that the monitor or phone or tablet is away from the punching range and make sure that there is no wall or window nearby so that you don't accidentally yeet your phone or tablet into the wall or out of the window. And well, uh, I did see a lot of very weird builds in the last week, and I have been sent some of them that I will show you today. So, I think I will start with the expensive ships first, because the expensive ships are actually the weirdest ones. And the first one will be a 4.5 billion is CYNABAL. Now it doesn't take long to see what's wrong with this CYNABAL. They're using B-type railguns on a angel ship. Yeah, and it's B-type as well. The low slots are nice. Okay, that can pass. The medium slots a little bit weird. No webs, no scramblers, nothing of that sorts. The rigs are also pretty weird to say the least. Railgun rigs on a CYNABAL. Well, perhaps the CYNABAL has received a patch where they made the CYNABAL a railgun ship, but I'm pretty sure that the CYNABAL is using cannons. And yeah, very nice kill, very cursed, very weird. 4.5 billion because of the B-type medium railguns. Now the next one, I think most of you have seen this, Ortus. Now this Ortus isn't as cursed or bad because of the modules. It's a pretty solid build on paper. The idea behind this ship is actually really solid and very interesting. But the problem with this ship is that it doesn't use better modules. Now I used to fly the Ortus. I have one that costs around 18 billion, and that ship has A types, full A type, full B type, and you can definitely place those modules even with a large Nosferatu on the Ortus with the right build and with the right skills. Now this Ortus has Cavalry Navy missiles and it had a Mark 7 microwave. Now this rattlesnake 3.3 billion had autocannons, strike cannons, a medium strike cannon and missiles. Very very interesting, and a balance between a passive or an active tank on the low slots. Now I will show you some of the Balgorn kills over time. Now this Balgorn on paper here looks nice. It's not really cursed as some of the other ships, but a Balgorn is not really a passive tank ship. The Balgorn has a really good capacitor, has amazing Nosferatu and neutralizer performance, and it definitely has one of the more capacitor stable builds out there. So a passive tank on the Balgorn, no, that's not a good idea. And if they had one shield booster, that would be an okay build, but unfortunately they had a full passive build. So this Balgorn, while on paper looks nice, when you think about it and when you take a look at the ship a little bit deeper and when you take a look at the build deeper, it's really not that good. Now, if this was any other ship besides a Balgorn, I would say that this was a okay build, but capacitor battery and a target painter on a Balgorn, that's a little bit weird. Why would you use a capacitor battery on a Balgorn that has the best capacitor and best Nosferatu performance in the game? Your capacitor without capacitor battery is already stable with everything active. Why a capacitor battery? If they had a large shield booster, dual large shield booster, and well, let's ignore the target painter for a second, this would actually be a very solid build. Now this one is a little bit more weird. This Balgorn has Mark 9 warp core stabs, Mark 9 adaptive armor hardener, and a C-type reactive, and a C-type armor repairer. This is, I think, the weirdest Balgorn that we have seen today. The rest of the rigs are actually not that good if I take a closer look. Power grid rigs on a battleship that has some of the best power grids in the game. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Now, this is insurance fraud, and sometimes when I wake up and when I look at the corp log, I see something like this. And the rigs, yeah, the rigs are actually really nice. The integrations are really solid, and this is one very, very, very tanky Balgorn. And well, we have another insurance fraud example here, and again, a little bit more expensive this time around, but in the end, this is again a very tanky, and this is an example of a very nicely integrated Balgorn. This ship is scary. The last two ships were scary. Now we have another Balgorn, and this Balgorn, I believe, was built for travel, but not really a smart idea to have a build like this if you go into nullsec, because sometimes you land in a bubble, and when you land in a bubble, then this build will not work because your ship will be destroyed. Now, I'm pretty sure I did feature this ship before in the last week, but just in case I didn't, this is a 7.6 billion ISK Nightmare kill, 3 adaptives, and a armor repairer on a Nightmare, which is one of the heavily tanked shield tank ships in the game. And it's, of course, it has rig integrations, which makes this ship very cursed, very weird, and don't fit your Nightmare like this. At least make a shield tank build. Now, the next ship is an Ashmore 1.4 billion, and yeah, it's a hybrid tank Ashmore, and this is a very cursed and a very bad build, and it lacks 2 medium slot modules. Now, the Ashmore can be an armor tank or shield tank, but never both. Don't combine the armor and shield tank on the Ashmore. It's not going to be good. And yeah, this is a very weird Ashmore. It did take a while to be destroyed because, again, even one Nosferatu can actually sustain the capacitor, and against one Succubus, the Ashmore can hold for a very long time. If the Ashmore had a better build, the Succubus wouldn't be able to shoot it down, but with this build, this Ashmore was a very easy target. So yeah, very cursed Ashmore right there. Now we have a 3 billion Apocalypse striker here, and just like the Balgorn before, this Apocalypse had 6 stabilizers and quad webs. Now the webs are actually nice. The quad webs can be very lethal against tackle ships up close. But if you plan to travel with your ship and if you have to go through nullsec, having this build is actually not a good idea, because you will land in a bubble, and if you land in a bubble, then you don't have any defense, and anything can basically shoot down your ship if you can't hit them. And this is what happened to this Apocalypse striker. They had a travel build, or perhaps a PvE build, perhaps they run missions like that, and they got destroyed. Now the next target is in Phantasm, and yeah, this Phantasm, again, just like the example with the previous hybrid tank ships, you don't fit the Phantasm like this. The Phantasm is not a armor tank ship. The Phantasm has some of the best shields in the game. And this Phantasm, if I recall, did go down very quickly without any problems. Now, the next ship is a Succubus, 358 million, and it doesn't take long to see what's wrong with this Succubus. Triple shield boosters and triple Nosferatus. You know, I'll actually give credit to this build. It's actually something that I have never seen. It's actually creative. It's not a good build. Definitely not a good build, but it's creative. So I'll give them that. Next, we have Andramil. And this Andramil is very weird. 604 million. Modified autocans, modified armor repair, civilian small afterburner, Mark 5 inertial stabilizer, and it lacks 1 medium slot. It has a Predator web, You know, I have a lot of questions about the build of this ship. Why Mark 5 Web but Predator? Why Disruptor Mark 5 but the Predator is and a prototype rig. I just seen that there's yeah prototype rig on the Andramil. I have a lot of questions. This build actually confuses me. Very weird. Now the next is a Praxis 1.2 billion, and you know, on paper the Praxis can be used as a exploration ship. I think this is the first Praxis that I've seen to be used in exploration. It has rig integrations. Overall, does this actually work? Someone tell me in the comments. Does this actually work? Now the next we have a Vex Navy, 830 million Vex Navy, fully integrated. I think this might be the most expensive Vex Navy that I've ever seen. And this is not cursed. This is not cursed. It's just weird. Or hold a second. Loading bay accelerator on a drone boat. Might actually have to pull back what I said about this not being cursed. Don't fit missile rigs on a drone boat. Focus on maximum possible drone performance. The Vex Navy's drones are actually, you know, really good. And the integrations, they're okay. The engineering rig integrations are okay, but the combat integrations, the loading bay accelerator has to be removed. You can increase the drone stats significantly if you change that, because the Vexor doesn't have bonuses on missiles, it has bonuses on drones. And this is one very interesting build. I haven't seen a integrated Vexor in a very long time. Now this is a Condor 242 million, and not really sure what was happening with this tier 4 frigate. And they did have... Now I'm a little bit confused here, because it says Comet rigs. Now, are they actually installed on the ship? Some of these rigs have to be installed. The Condor can fit 2 rigs, I believe. 2 Comet rigs. So one of them was... 2 of them probably were installed. Next we have a prototype battlecruiser, and we have an example of what not to do with your battlecruiser. Never replicate a build like this. This is horrible, and I usually say that a build like this is cursed. Oh man, you're about to see some cursed builds. This is nothing on this video. You're in for a ride today, and we are 30 minutes into the video right now. Don't do something like this. If you go shield tank, go shield tank. If you go armor tank, go armor tank. This is a very pointless build that I don't know why it even exists, to be honest. I wouldn't build a ship like that, like, ever. And next we have a Ferox, 147 million. Now, you might notice that the Ferox is using blasters and rifle railguns, and they're also using a reactive hardener, medium armor repair, and a medium shield booster. Again, and this is a PvP build and a small Nosferatu. Don't replicate a build like this. It's not good. It's not a good build. It's actually very bad. So if you go armor tank, go armor tank. If you go shield tank, go shield tank. Never mix both. Mixing tanks makes the ship very bad. It doesn't work good at all. You will have a hole on shield and a hole on armor if you have a build like that. Now, if this was any other ship, if this was a, let's say, Cyclone, Tornado, this build would be, you know, really nice on this Prophecy. But a Prophecy is one of the tankiest armor battlecruisers in the game. Can be basically impossible to kill 1v1 if you have a really good build for it. But that's not a shield tank build. That would be a armor tank build. A shield tank Prophecy is horrible, and don't fit your Prophecy with a shield tank, even if you have to do armor missions, or if you have to do Galante missions or Primata missions, go with a armor tank. It will last a lot longer and a lot better than a shield tank prophecy. Even with a large shield booster, the capacitor on the ship would eventually go down faster than the capacitor if you would use armor repairs, and of course you get a 20% bonus on armor resistance on the prophecy. Now, we haven't really seen a lot of these ships in a very long time, but these little ships are actually shield tanks, and 50% chance that you nail the build and tank on these ships. But again, we have a small armor repair, and when we get the full faction, I expect to see a lot of cursed builds on these ships. Next we have a Thorax, and again, same case with some of the previous ships that we have seen. Shield tank and armor tank combined, again, makes the ship not work really well for both. And it will have a hole on armor, it will have a hole on shield, so basically anything that is going to shoot at you will be destroyed. You will be destroyed very quickly. You will have no tank against anything. So yeah, don't fit a Thorax like this. Go with a armor tank or a shield tank. Never mix both. Okay, let's see what we have here. Now, this will be featured on the Tempest video that I will do in a couple days. Perhaps I'll make it even later, but you are about to see the star of the show. You are about to see the, I think, the most cursed ship of the video. It is a Mauler, surprisingly. Now, the Mauler is actually a, I would say a pretty solid ship. The Mauler can be built to tank a lot of damage. It is one of the tankiest tier 6 cruisers in the game. And of course, it is tanky if you run a armor tank fit on it. So, what kind of build do you think this Mauler has? What do you think? Let's see in the chat. What kind of build does this Mauler have? What do you think? I said that build will be the star of the show. And I wasn't joking when I said that. You know that I'm not making a lot of jokes here. I mean, I do make a lot of jokes, but I'm usually serious when I say something. So, what do you think? Why does my friend want me to kill their ship? How cursed can the build actually be when my friend wants their interceptor destroyed just because they got the kill of that Mauler? Well, we're about to find that out in a second. This actually hurts to look at. I have no words. I've got no words. I honestly have no words. Just, nope, I'm out. Nah. No, I'm out. Next we have a Caracal, and again we have the same good old example of how not to build your ship. Don't do this. Caracal, with the exception of the Caracal Sniper, is a shield tank. The Caracal Sniper can do both shield or armor. It's actually a very interesting ship. The tier 8 cruisers are definitely very unique in that aspect. And this has to be the best build that we have seen today. As I've said in the last part, if you have no build, it can be cursed, it can't be bad. This is the best build that we have seen today. Definitely the best build that we have seen today. Now, we have an Omen, a covert ops PvP Omen. I'm pretty sure I did inspire some players to go and fit a cloaking device on their ship, just like I do with the Macariel. The Macariel actually surprisingly works really well with a cloaking device. the clocking device does save your ship uh, if you have the threat of getting jumped. And we have a and if this is also something that I wanted to talk about. Now the Ferox by itself, is not a armor tank ship, so don't fit your Ferox with the armor tank. But this is an example of a solid armor tank build. If you have an armor tank ship, a build like this will work really well, and just don't fit it on a Ferox because the Ferox is a shield tank. Next we have a sniper tornado, and well, we have an example of the hybrid build, hybrid tank again. I wasn't joking when I said that I've seen like tens of thousands of ships like this. I've literally seen tens of thousands of ships like this, and players 2 years ago built their ship better than they build now, and that is something, that is mind-boggling. You would think that with time you would see better builds. Well, that's not the case, unfortunately. With time we actually are seeing worse and worse builds. I have no idea why that's happening, but yeah, don't fit your tornado like that. Now here, I actually find this build a little bit interesting, because you have like 6 railguns and 2 missile launchers, and if you are worried about, let's say, tackle ships that can get close to you, oh, and the ship is actually missing engineering rigs. Now, I never had a problem when I was a sniper with tackle ships. Just fit a lot of webs and kill them before they reach your ship, and you don't have to fit like that. Here we have a Black Ops Hurricane. Now this is actually a very, again, interesting setup. Reminds me of my Macariel. Perhaps I was really inspiring people to fly their ships with a clocking device, which is actually a very interesting thing. Although this ship is lacking some of the rigs, but overall, I haven't tried that myself, but probably will. And we have another Vex Navy with another hybrid tank again. The Vexor, I think the Vexor can do a shield tank or a armor tank, but again, never both at the same time, because if you tank both at the same time, it's not going to work well. In most cases, your ship will be very vulnerable to attacks, and your ship will be destroyed very, very quickly. Well then, we have survived another one of these videos, and I think definitely a piece of my soul did die today. Absolutely, it did. So I will go and probably record the Tempest video now. I need to think about something else. I don't know. I think it might be hilarious how painful this actually is sometimes to assemble, because I have to scroll through thousands of very bad builds, and it hurt. it does hurt, but I think it's pretty hilarious. Some of my reactions are actually hilarious, and yeah, I guess players like to watch me suffer, and I guess that is funny. So with that being said, hope that you enjoyed. I will admit, it was actually fun to make, so I'm not going to complain too much. It's actually fun to record this, so hope that you enjoyed, hope that you had a good laugh at my suffering here. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.